Hey, what's up? Rich from Turbo Family Fishing here for another how-to video on how to clean our reels. So obviously the first thing you're going to need to do is take your reel off of your pole and then take the line off, take the spool out. So you're just going to unscrew your tensioner nut. After that's off, take your whole spool off, just set it off to the side so that it looks like this. Now you're going to need a couple of tools. You're going to need a shop towel of some sort, something to clean with, a little screwdriver set, and some lubrication. What I like is liquid wrench. I always use it for my reels. Some people like Reel Magic, some people like other things, but that's it. So you're just going to start off like that. I have another towel sitting here to put all my parts on after I'm done taking it apart, so I don't lose anything. But I'm gonna go ahead and turn the camera around, make it a little bit easier so I can see what I'm doing, and you guys can see a little bit better, so hang on. Alright, so like I said, we have our reel here, our tensioner there, and we're just gonna go ahead and start taking everything apart. So the first thing you want to do is you want to take this out. It just should pull right off. Separate those two. Now if this sprocket is dirty or rusty or whatever the case, go ahead and clean it off. As you can tell, this one's not too dirty, it's fine. Set it off to the side. Now inside here you have to take this little screw out first before you can take this nut off. Once you take that screw out, the nut will come off, and then it'll allow you to take this piece off. I don't know the names of all the pieces, however, I do know how to take these apart. So we're just going to use our little screwdriver. I almost knocked the camera over. Actually, I did knock the camera over. Alright, and then we're just going to take this one little screw out. After you take the screw out, set it off to the side so we don't lose it. Try to keep the parts in order because some of the screws are different sizes. Now we can take our nut off. It should be hand tight. If not, you may need a crescent wrench, which I probably do. So give me 1 second. Okay, so now I got my crescent wrench. We're just going to go ahead and loosen this nut in here. It shouldn't be on very tight. Just twist it to your left, just like anything else. Once it gets loose, you can set the crescent wrench to the side and just take the nut off. And once again with the part, set it off to the side so we don't lose it. You can pull this whole spool off now. And if it's dirty inside there, you can wipe it down with your rag. Just try to get some of the stuff out there so that it flows freely, like this. And any other stuff that may be deep down inside there, which this one's fairly clean, but it was feeling a little grindy, like it had some sand in it. So this is my son's pole. We're just going to get some of that sand out of there and go from there. So it looks pretty clean inside there now. Set that off to the side. Now we're on to this piece here. Now with this piece here, it's got a bunch of little pieces. So you're going to want to clean this. You're going to want to get inside to the bearing. So we're just going to start taking pieces off. All of this is, you could just lift this up and out. Now you can clean this off if it's got a little bit of grime on it. Try not to bend this spring. Leave that spring attached and don't break it. Now the next piece you want to take off is this one so that we can get the bearing out. Take the screw out. After you get that screw out, as usual, set it off to the side like this. Probably put this piece that just pops right off next to it, so you know that screw is for that piece. Next, we can take the other screws out to get to the bearing here. You're going to take that one screw out, set it off to the side. Second screw out, and set that one off to the side as well. Now this whole thing should just pull out. It's got a gear in there, so it's going to turn your reel a little bit. On this inside, you see inside there, it can get full of junk and gunk and dirt, but as you can tell, it just looks like oil in there, just some lubricating gel. But do you see the gear deep down inside there? That's what turns like this with your handle. That's what raises and lowers this piece so that your reel moves. So we're just going to check in there, make sure there's no dirt and grime. If there is some dirt and grime in there, what you're going to want to do next is you're going to take apart this screw here and this screw here and this screw here and take the whole thing apart. But first you got to undo the handle, of course. I'm not going to do this because it's not dirty and you hardly ever have to do that, but if you do, you would just take apart your handle and pull it out, and then take apart those 3 screws to get to that gear inside there to clean all that up inside there. But as we can tell, it's not too dirty inside there. Everything looks fairly clean, so we're just going to leave it. We're not going to mess with that. Just put that back together. Now you're going to want to wipe down the shaft of the reel here, get any kind of dirt or debris off of there. Separate your bearing from this piece here, and from there you want to clean all of this here and get all the dirt, all the black bad oil off of it as best you can. It is going to be a little sharp, try not to cut yourself, but after you get all the black oil off so that you can add new oil and make it clean, set it off to the side. Same thing with your bearing, try to wipe it down the best you can, clean out the inside. If there's any grime in there, you might want to get a new bearing, but this one, it looks pretty clean. It's just got some oil in it. Spin it, see if it feels all crunchy or loose or anything like that, and if it's not, then keep it. If it is kind of dirty, just look up the serial number of your reel and you should be able to order a bearing. They may have it at your bait and tackle shop as well. In the reels department, they may have bearings, but this one's pretty good, so it looks fine. Now after you already have it down in pieces, what you're going to want to do is, like I said, it looks pretty good in here, but just give it a little squirt of the liquid wrench. That's what I like, just to add a little bit in there like that. Once you do that, turn your reel just to get it circulating through that gear in there. Okay, you can't really have too much, at least not that I've found. Some people may say there's too much. I've never found there to be too much. Put your bearing back together, and this is it. I mean, once you've gotten down to this and you clean all that dirt and grime and everything out of there, any kind of dirt that you had in there, you should be fine to put it back together. And then just check it as you go, just to make sure that everything works properly. So once you get this back in there, slide your bearing back in. Okay, put your bearing locking screws back into it as well. Tighten those down. I got a little oil on my hands, the screw's slipping. Now at that point, you can check it and see how it feels. It will feel weird because everything's not together and not tightened down, so Just as long as you don't feel any grinding or any dirt inside there, you should be good. And then once again, add a little bit of liquid wrench or whatever kind of lubricant you like to your bearing. Okay, you could wipe off the excess, it's not that big of a deal. Give it a few more turns to get it to sink down into the bearing, and then wipe away any excess. Okay, just like that. So see, now once that's all cleaned off, now you could just keep putting everything back together. So the next step was this one. You're gonna slide it back onto this black piece there, like that. Put its screw back in there. Like that. Try not to over tighten it because it can happen and you may crack this little frame right here. You don't want to do that. Now after that's done, remember the order that you took this off. This little spring piece down here, right here, that little spring, I know it's hard to see on camera, right there, has to go into the groove right here. It has to sit in this groove like that. So when you put this back on, make sure you slide it into the groove like that. Can you see it in the groove? Just like that. Once it's in the groove, you're good to go there. You can slide on this piece that we took off, and then you're going to put your nut back on. Get your crescent wrench, give it a couple little turns, not too tight. Just like that. And then make sure you put your locking screw back into its hole to keep your nut on so your nut doesn't loosen up. And make sure it's all the way flush too. You want it flush because if not, it's going to interfere with your reel and the gears. Okay, now the next piece is you're going to put your gear back on like that, and you see here it's flat on one side. Can you see that, how it's kind of flat? It's got a groove. You see that? I don't know if you can see it too well, but it's flat and got a groove. Same with your gear. Your gear is flat and it has a groove in it. Make sure those grooves line up, and you put this red washer thingy back over the top of it. It's going to be kind of tight because this one doesn't have any grooves, so it's going to be kind of tight trying to get it back on there. Okay, now once it's in there, you can check your reel again just to make sure that it's nice and smooth. As we can tell, I cleaned it up well. You see that, how it's just moving freely? We don't have anything to worry about. And that's it. Once you're done with that, you can put your bail back on, get it in the groove again. It's got a square groove, you see, back in there. Put your tensioner nut back on the top. And that's it. You're all set. You're ready to go fishing again now after you've cleaned up your reel. So thanks for joining me. Don't forget to like and subscribe and leave a comment if there's something else you want me to work on or a different how-to video. So thanks again from Turbo Family Fishing.